Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton and welcome back to my YouTube channel, My Noahide Family. Recently, I've had to rearrange some things in my house and sort things out, and you know, the inevitable decluttering as well happens once we decide to have a bit of a clean out or sort things out, or we're preparing for an event or something. So we go around and we physically tidy up things or trim things down or what have you. And and so when we do this physical decluttering, we tend to have a few boxes set up, and we say, well, that goes to the Lions Club donations or Goodwill, whatever in your area is the charity organisation. So you have boxes for that, so a box for that sort of stuff. And then you've got a box for, oh dear, I'm undecided about that. So, you know, there's things you give away, and there's surprisingly a lot of things that are just simply, why did I ever keep that? You get to the bottom of the box and there's been a mouse in there and all sorts of goobies, floating around, hidden there. And so, of course, a lot just goes into the trash, and you feel so much better after you've done that. I don't have to clean it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's trash. So, and also we have things and we think, well, why have I got 3 of this? I've got 6 of that. I've got 2 of that. And so there's so many things that we allow to build up in our home over the years, and without us giving thought, or we get gifts and things like that. And sometimes you've just got to go through and be, you've really got to be strong-willed about it and say, no, look, I can't house this any longer, but it'll be of use to somebody else. So the story goes on. And I've recently had to go through that, so I'm speaking myself from experience now. So parting with some of that, or all of that physical clutter, putting them into boxes and designating a certain area, we immediately feel physical benefit from that. I mean, immediately that area looks so much neater, or it's so much more organised now, I can do this, that and the other, I don't know why I ever kept that. And so it goes on. And eventually we feel that tremendous relief, and you're actually proud of yourself. You pat yourself on the back, and then you say, of course, why didn't I do it sooner? Oh, I wish I hadn't let it get to this stage. So as I was doing this recently, because I had to get ready for my son's birthday party, and then my grandson had a birthday, and so I had a fair bit of reorganising physical stuff to do in the midst of all that. So our physical trash, while it can be annoying and we can stumble over it at times, it's really not that hard to get rid of it once you set your mind to it. Now, I've got one of my son's little dogs here. She's probably going to bark throughout this. She thinks I'm talking to her. But it did get me to thinking about, okay, get rid of the physical stuff. We can see it, feel it, touch it, and so we can make a decision based just on a visual thing. But what about that emotional clutter that we gather over the years? We gather it and store it deep down in the centre here, and it festers, like it gets bugs, how shall I say, the equivalent to physical manifestations take place in there, and it gets whatever it is we're harbouring and hanging on to emotionally, sometimes even gets to be a bigger mess, a bigger barrier to things we want to do, like, I can't go there because I've still got to deal with this. So we have this emotional clutter, let's call it that, and it really does debilitate us. It can be crippling. It can break up marriages. It can break up relationships. Emotional baggage and stuff that you can't let go of is really much worse than our physical clutter. So how do we get away from that and get rid of that emotional baggage? Well, it's a little bit similar, I think, to the physical decluttering. And you have to look at things in a category, sort of like I did with physically. You're looking at kitchen items, you're looking at something else, you're looking at something else. So treat your emotional clutter like that, under a title or an object or whatever, an experience even. And you look at that and you say, well, now why am I allowing this clutter to affect my behavior and my emotions? Why do I allow it to stay near me? Why do I allow it to encroach on my life and my well-being? It's of no value now. It's just a constant punishment to me, a constant sour reminder of something, and I bring it up and it emotionally upsets me, so I don't need it. So those distressing memories or even actions or incidents, why are we hanging on to it? It's almost like a self-punishment. And you've got to question yourself, look, why am I holding on to this? What benefit is it? And then you've got to look at the volume of emotional clutter that one has or gathers over the years. And that emotional clutter can have begun back in our early school years sometimes, or it can happen in later life. But, the earlier you started gathering that emotional clutter, the more you're going to have and the more messed up your thoughts and your life and your expectations are going to be. So let's look at this in a realistic way. That and of course, whatever we're allowing it there, we're holding on to it. It's taking space in our brain, taking up space. So that volume of emotional clutter, it's crowding you out. Everywhere you turn, some part of that emotional clutter confronts you. Some of it can be repeated, some of, very often, and other times it can be just certain occasions or a word can trigger it or a function or something like that. And so it's time now to get rid of it, because emotional clutter is in effect mind controlling. And if it's left unchecked and not appropriately addressed or managed, it suffocates your mind and your soul, and eventually it has a physical effect on you. So this clutter that you can't see but is there is having a more dramatic effect, a more detrimental effect on you than your physical, trivial clutter and things like that we have around ourselves, or the dust on the ornaments that we haven't dusted and things like that. That's easy fix, but that emotional clutter isn't. We're reluctant to even think about it, and then when we have to face it to get rid of it, it's suffocating. So let's talk about today, right now. We're going to begin today getting rid of that emotional clutter. Start decluttering your mind. Start letting the air rotate around and relax and get rid of that baggage. So we're going to begin by doing it one thing at a time. Just like your physical decluttering, you'll say, today or now I'm going to go into that drawer, that one drawer. There might be 6 drawers there, but I'm just going to do that bit at a time. This drawer today I'm going to start on. So this effect or this emotion or this suffocating feeling I have, I'm going to deal with just it today. And then I'm going to be rid of it. So we start by, why am I holding on to the clutter? Because it's not making me happy. I don't need this, clutter. It's of no use or value to me. Does holding on to this clutter benefit me in any way? I think not. Am I learning anything from hanging on to this emotional clutter? And is it improving my life or my relationships by hanging on to this clutter? Now, most of us would be saying no to that, all of that. So, okay, I need now to discard that clutter, one item at a time, into a bin to get rid of it. And I've got to say no more. It's out of my mind. It's out of my life. I'm getting rid of you forever. Well, it's all very well for me to say that to you, isn't it? And you're probably thinking the same thing. It's easier said than done. But do you know what? It's a bit like the physical decluttering. I can look at it and say, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to give that to so-and-so. I'm not, that there. You're sorting it all out in your mind, but it's still standing there in front of you, isn't it? So I want you to do this little exercise for me because it works. It works. You're going to take, and you don't, just tear up some scrap paper because these emotional bits of clutter are like scraps in your life. And you're going to write on it no, and then N-O, no, and then write under it, give the emotional clutter a name or a designate it something. No, let me think. No, feeling guilty. And you'll know what this is about because you'll have named this emotional clutter. You'll have given it a name. And so then you're going to say no to that. Then you're not even going to give it the dignity of folding it. You're just going to scrunch it up in a little ball and you are going to put it in a paper bag. Okay? Then you're going to go on to the next emotional clutter that you have. Now, again, that can be something that you can give a name to, or it can be a date or an occasion or an action or something. Keep it short because you're not going to give it too much airspace or writing space. So you're going to write no to whatever it is. And I want you can pause this video now and think what that is, or rewatch the video, go through it again. So no more no more accepting of verbal abuse, something like that. It could be no more verbal abuse. Let's say that. Okay? Because that's really mind controlling type of thing, and you have to do something about it. So then you're going to take that and you're going to scrunch that up into a little ball, and you're going to pick up your paper bag or a little box if you've got one and put it in. Now I want you to repeat that process, writing whatever, saying no to the behaviour or the emotional baggage is probably another name you can give it. The emotional clutter that is drowning you, crowding you out. No, and then give it a title, scrunch it up, put it in the paper bag, and when you've gone through that truthfully in your mind, you might have several things, might only be one or two, but some people are really haunted by emotional clutter and it debilitates them. It actually interferes with their day-to-day living, just as too much physical clutter. You've probably all seen those videos about extreme hoarders and things like that. They have to climb over stuff to get in their front door. A terrible, terrible disorder. So often those emotional disorders, that emotional cluttering and hoarding does exactly the same thing, only in an emotional way. And that, as I said, is a lot harder to fix than it is a cluttered house with bric-a-brac and dust and maybe some mouse dirt or whatever. So really, we would apply guidelines to our physical, how shall I say, fixing up of things around us. Eventually we say, oh, I can't stand anymore, I've got to clean that drawer out or whatever, and we do it. But we're very reluctant to do that with our emotional baggage. We kind of want to hang on to it. It's that carry-on baggage. We're frightened to let go of it, because by doing that, I've got to face it and acknowledge it, and I've also got to make a contract with myself that that's not going to interfere with my life again. And so I just think that going through a little process of putting that trash, writing it down, screwing it up, putting it in the bag, in a plain brown paper wrapper bag, nothing fancy, and it's a physical step you're making. You're actually making a memory of acknowledging it, screwing it up and putting it in the bag. Now, you're probably saying, well, that's all very well when I've got that bag full today or this afternoon. What am I going to do with it? Well, you're going to fold it up or squash the bag up, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, like that, however it folds up, squashes up. And you're going to take this out into your garden somewhere, whatever suits you. You're going to get your little spade and dig a hole fairly deep, deep enough that the cat or the dog can't dig it up. And you're going to bury that very deeply in the earth so it becomes compost. It will compost down. It's paper. And eventually something beautiful is going to grow out of there, because you're going to plant something nice in there. So what are you saying? That emotional stuff that's dragged me down all this time, I've turned it into compost, and nothing out of that is going to affect what grows from that compost now. So all that stuff's buried, mulched up, compost in my life, and now blooms are going to come forward from that. So don't feel bad when you know you have emotional baggage. We all do, and people who say they don't, I really seriously wonder whether they're telling the truth or not. But if you really want to get rid of it, then you have to. Sometimes it requires some physical action, not just saying I'm not going to think about that anymore, because once you've done this paper bag, scrap paper and the paper bag method, putting your, little naming and shaming it and hiding it in a plain paper bag, you're going to get rid of it. It's like a physical step. It is a physical step you're taking, but it's an affirmation. And so you're remembering in your mind that you've made a commitment to get rid of that baggage. You don't need it in your life. I've dealt with it enough. I don't need it. It's holding me back. So I hope this has been some help. And if it is, then thank Hashem. And don't forget, always ask Hashem's help when you're dealing with difficulties or when you're dealing with uncertainties. And certainly when we're dealing with hidden emotions we have that nobody even knows about, but feelings we have, fears we have, we have to, treat them like junk and get rid of them out of our lives, because they're really crippling you. They're stopping you from being the beautiful individual that you are. They're holding you back. And if you're truthful with yourself, you'll probably find they stop you from improving your life to a degree. And that is sinful. You have the potential to be whatever God created you to be. And if you keep in step with Him, that is going to happen. But if you allow this emotional stuff to keep creeping into your life, it's just going to knock you down again, and no good will come of that. So in the meantime, please You know how to get rid of your emotional baggage, turn it into compost in your garden. Remember always to take care of yourself, and God bless.